Not long ago on the channel, I taught a deck switch, and a deck switch is one of those things that I believe every magician should have at least one of, and so I want to continue that trend, and in today's tutorial, I'm going to be teaching something that I genuinely believe every magician should have in their repertoire, the tools and the weapons that they should know how to use and implement into routines, and that will make people better magicians, having these tools at the ready so that they can improvise and create great magic, and ultimately create great memories. To be a good magician, you should have a selection of sleights and tricks in your repertoire that you don't necessarily use in a particular routine, but you know how to do in order to get yourself out of sticky situations, because it happens to the best magician in the world. Sometimes as magicians we find ourselves in situations that require particular moves to be done, and if you don't know those moves you can't do it and you end up with a trick going wrong, which is not something that anyone wants to happen. So in today's video I'm going to be teaching a very simple bit of sleight of hand called the retention cut, and it is a simple move with lots and lots of uses, and I'm not going to be giving a particular use for the move in this video. I'm going to leave that up to you, so you can use this in any way that you want. And maybe you don't even use this in a particular trick, maybe this is just something that you can throw in whenever you feel like this is needed. The retention cut is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It is a way of cutting the deck whilst retaining some cards in a particular position. That particular position being on the bottom of the deck. So imagine, in this routine, this is just an example, you can use this for loads of things, but imagine we have the 4 aces on the bottom of the deck, and we want to keep it that way. But to the audience, we want to subtly suggest that there's nothing wrong with this deck. So we're not going to openly say, there's nothing wrong with this deck, because that's a bit suspicious and weird, and why would you do that? Instead, what we're going to do is just cut the deck. Just naturally. We're not going to draw attention to it, it's just going to happen. And it's just something that happens in the background to convince the audience the deck is normal. So here's what the retention cut looks like. That right there was an example of the retention cut. It looks like an ordinary swing cut, and in order to do this trick, you're going to want to know how to do a swing cut normally. And a swing cut is very, very simple. You hold the deck like so, between your index and middle finger at the top, your thumb at the bottom nearest to you, obviously, and you simply break off half the deck with your index finger and swing it into this hand and place the rest on top. So I'll just do that again. You lift with your index finger away from the rest of the deck that's being held with your middle finger and thumb. Your other hand comes in the middle, grabs that deck, and it swings over to one side, like so. So that's a swing cut, very, very simple. And all we're doing is essentially adding another packet into the swing cut that is going to be retained secretly. So that packet, in this case, is made up only of 4 cards, and these are the 4 aces, and those go right on the bottom. The 4 aces just go in the hand and the rest of the deck goes on top, but it doesn't quite go on top normally because it goes on top like this. Now this looks normal, and it should look normal for all intents and purposes from most angles, but actually I'm being a little bit sneaky at the back here. I am keeping a thumb break. So I've got my thumb break here with the aces held away from the deck, and all that's happening is the deck is coming back a little bit, as if I'm sort of squaring the edges like this, but it comes back and then forwards and it leaves those aces behind. Now if I take away the deck, the aces are now being very loosely, but not too loose so that I'll drop them, they're being very loosely held between, I guess it's like the ring finger sort of first knuckle here and the pinky finger first knuckle, and then the pad of my thumb, the sort of palm area. You begin by holding the deck like so, with the aces separate from the deck underneath. Your other hand comes across and it just rocks those back in position, and we're immediately here. And now we're essentially going to do a swing cut low in the hand, and that is essentially the whole move right there. It is just a swing cut that keeps this packet exactly where it is. You see how that packet just does not move. I can even do multiple swing cuts on top. It really just does not move. This is not seen, this is not visible at all. Now the way I do a swing cut is quite messy. I like it to be messy, and especially with this, I think that's actually really helpful. Some people think that when you do sleight of hand, it needs to look neat and perfect and polished. And it should be polished, it should be very well practiced, but it shouldn't necessarily be neat. Because if it's so neat that it draws attention to itself, then you don't want that. Because imagine you're doing something so perfectly that it's, you know, really, really clean and looks absolutely magnificent. You don't really want it to look magnificent, you want it to look ordinary. Remember that the sleight of hand is not the centre of attention here, that's not the point of what we're doing. We're creating magic, we're creating memories, we're not showing off our sleight of hand. In this case, this sleight of hand is secret. Not always the case, I understand, but in this trick, it is secret. So you come forwards like this, with the aces separate from the deck, your hand just rocks it back in position, like so, and your index finger is going to lift up. These fingers are going to come underneath so they can grab that packet, and everything stays very close to the hand. You'll notice if I do it out here and swing cut like this, I'm just completely exposing this packet. So everything stays quite low in the hand as that swing cut just happens above the aces. You can do multiple ones if you want and you get more confident, and the sort of bigger this becomes, the messier this becomes, the bigger a shield you're creating here. Now there's also a little move that I use to collect everything together. Because if I square everything like this and I push those aces right forwards, that in itself is going to be a bit strange, because why would my thumb need to come all the way back here? Makes no sense. To the audience, these cards don't exist, so don't do that, that just looks silly. What I am going to do though, is just spread these cards out and back again. And that gives me an excuse to have my thumb all the way back here. So if I just do that again, we've got the aces like so, we cut the deck, I just spread back and spread forwards, and I'm done. That is then done, and the aces are on the bottom. So that is the retention cut. I am not going to give any further explanation of tricks that you can do that use this move. You should just have this in your repertoire as a tool that can be used at any point where you have cards on the bottom of the deck that you need to retain. You can throw this move in as a little subtlety, don't draw too much attention to it, it just happens in the background, and psychologically suggest to your audience that the deck is in no way relevant in order. You know, you're not keeping any cards in any weird places or anything like that. It's a nice little convincer move, and I hope you enjoyed it. A very short, snappy tutorial today, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. Thanks for watching. If you did enjoy this, make sure to click the thumbs up button down below. That would be great. Also, this is part of Blackpool Week. I'm making lots of videos this week in the run-up to the big convention video. Apologies that it's not been a video every day, but I need the videos to be good. I prefer quality over quantity. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I will see you in the next episode.
I think you're gonna have to be or you're gonna have to go very slow. And soft.